All right, so here we are on to the second body paragraph of our essay. The second body paragraph is going to be about a cheating, actually. It's pretty unfortunate, but I'm being honest. I mean, this is a story of two twins, and I think it would behoove me to not just, just share the positive stuff. I mean, we were a little rowdy, and I guess it fits because it's kind of funny. Um, A, that we thought we'd get away with it. That we even came up with the ideas. I think it was my brother, although it was so long ago, I can't really blame him. But I don't think we ever like planned it out. I think what would happen would be my brother wouldn't be ready for some quiz or some test, and he'd be like, "Hey, you could take it for me." And I don't know if I turned him down a couple times, and then like I finally relented because I knew it would be kind of fun. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how guilty of a party I am or how. um, but again, I don't want to like throw my brother under the bus. But yeah, it was they were interesting stories. But okay, so let's share here. So I took a quiz. Okay, so let's just start talking about. I can just talk about what I just said. I'm not sure if um, our heads physically healed. Um, Well, here's physically elect the unfortunate childhood incident. So here's what's called a transition sentence. You want to connect the previous paragraph to the paragraph you're gonna talk about, or you're gonna introduce. So while our heads physically healed about the unfortunate childhood incident, um, I can't say the same for our decision-making skills. So I'll use parallelism here in terms of heads, right? I can't say the same for our heads later on in high school with regards to some of our collective decision-making skills. And we can clean up, tiny little edits and grammatical uh, hiccups when we proofread. If we're 90% of the way there on this first draft, which I like to be ideally, I like to be at least 75. And if you go down the wrong route, then you know, then you back up and you move forward. But um, yeah, so we'll keep the pace going. So with regards to our collective decision making skills, for example, um, somehow Chris and I planned for me to take his Spanish quiz, to take one of his Spanish quizzes. Um, let's skip that. It was one Spanish quiz. It was kind of funny because the teacher, yeah, I won't go into the details, but remember the goal, right? The goal is just to tell a story or to brag or to look cool or to throw my brother under the bus. The object of the exercise is to write a really good, taught, concise essay. So let's just pick one. Let's just pick one. Plan for me to take one of his math tests. in 10th grade. I went into his class and sat down in his seat. Though I seriously don't remember how I knew where his seat was. Yeah, but then, maybe he told me, or maybe the students told me. I mean, that's pretty obvious. It's not too much of a salient detail. You want to keep the forward progress going. So when Chris and I planned for me to take one of his math tests in 10th grade, I went to his class and sat down in his seat and commenced taking pre-calc midterm. So then we're going to change. We're not going to say pre-calc again. We're just going to say midterm. And then hyphen, hyphen. I guess it works. I'll make it midterm. Doesn't need a hyphen there. Went to his class, sat down in his seat, and commenced taking his midterm. Not knowing. Oh yeah. So what's the first question? So the first question people might ask after reading that sentence would be, "Oh, did the students know?" So I could say, "You might assume correctly that all of our fellow classmates in the class knew for certain that it was me taking this exam for my brother. After all, I was asked brother asked me because he knew I was a bit sharper and more studious than he, and he wanted to earn an A instead of perhaps a B. Earn an A instead of perhaps an honest B. Let's call it an easy A, because it would be easy for him, and it's sort of in the lexicon of like movie lore. There's a movie called Easy A. I never saw it, but I think it's could be about that. I don't know. It could be about. I have a feeling it has to do with like cheating, or maybe, I don't know. There was a movie one time called like Dead Man on Campus, I think, and it was about if someone dies when you're in college and all your grades are automatically an A, and someone died. I don't know, but there are movies where this, yeah. So, anyways, that it also adds it makes it a little bit more interesting. Earn an easy A instead of perhaps an honest B, as opposed to say earn an A instead of perhaps a B. So right there, I think it really fits to add an adjective before A and B. A bit sharper, more studious than he, and he wanted to earn an easy A instead of perhaps an honest B. The the students, Chris's classmates, could barely contain their mirth. Their mirth. They're, I could say, barely contain their laughter, but that's a little bit of a cliche because we hear it a lot. It's like a really common phrase. So I could just say barely contain their mirth or their giggles. Although his teacher was completely oblivious to the old twin switcheroo that we were playing that class period. The old twin switcheroo, which is also sort of fun, colorful. It's kind of a cliche, but I think it works here because it's just it's sort of, it's not like I'm using a whole bunch of these like rowdy, obnoxious cliches. And we might change this. You know, when we read the whole thing over again, we might change the phrasing, but and we're painting a picture, right? The classmates are giggling, the teacher doesn't know. I didn't realize that I almost blew my cover by turning in the finished test, right? By turning in the finished test early, with literally 30 or so minutes left to spare. I don't think it was 30, maybe it was 20. And then here the semicolon is like two complete sentences, but they're connected. They're connected more than just two sentences separated by a period. So this would be an appropriate place to use this semicolon. I didn't realize I'm still cover returning in the finish test early with literally 20 or so minutes left to spare. On the other hand, Chris always was among the last students to turn in his finished math exams. So I was risking getting caught by being such a studious student that day. I already used the word studious, so such a dedicated and focused, let's call me a test taker that day. Now luckily, I said luckily before, so you could say fortunately, the math teacher didn't catch on, and I was minutes away from freedom and I was minutes away from freedom. I was minutes away from freedom and merely sat at my brother's desk waiting for the bell to ring. All right, we're gonna stop it here, leave you guys hanging a little bit with what's gonna happen next, and we'll catch you at the next video.